Welcome, everyone. It is episode 34. No, I lied. It's episode 45. Totally off. Flip the numbers. It's episode 45 of the Dance to Oneness podcast. Hi, welcome. If you're joining the live stream on Instagram, I've decided to do these podcasts on Instagram now as well. And if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube, welcome. And you may just be listening to this on a podcast in the future. My name is Amy Shine. I am the host of the Dance to Oneness podcast and the creator of it. And today's show, episode 45, the title, What is the Glass Ceiling with Money for You? So today's show, let's look at money. Let's talk about it. Let's look at where we may have made some decisions or judgments that are stopping us from going beyond where we currently are financially. So I am a Joy of Business facilitator. This question, Joy of Business, is an access consciousness class, a specialty class where we really look at creating more joy and more ease with business, with creation, and with money. So this question is actually taken from a class, a Joy of Business class. It has a manual as well. It's called Access Business and Money. It's a one-day class. It comes with this incredible manual full of clearings and questions to really start challenging you to look at where are you currently limiting yourself with your financial reality, and what would you like to have, and are you creating it, and what is getting in the way of you receiving what you could be creating financially. So what is starting off, like, have a look. Okay, first of all, do you have a glass ceiling with money? What is a glass ceiling? Well, a glass ceiling is where there is a sum or a figure or a number when it comes to money that you will not go beyond. So we talk about glass ceilings in workplaces, like certain jobs have a glass ceiling of how much you can earn in that job. So have a look at it. In your own world, have you created for you, either cognitively or energetically or somewhere that you might not even be aware of, have you made a decision or a judgment or a conclusion on what your glass ceiling with money is? And you might just get yes and not have had no idea how you did that. How you created that doesn't matter. Just ask truth. Do I have a glass ceiling with money? Have I created a glass ceiling with money? And I would say for a lot of us, that's a yes. Okay. Now, what is the glass ceiling with money that I've created? What is the sum of money that I've decided somewhere in this lifetime or any other lifetime that I cannot go beyond? So some of you maybe 50,000, some of you maybe 1 million, some of you maybe 10 million. So what is the sum of money that you will not allow yourself go beyond? Now, I'd even break it down more. So, because a sum of money could be like, you could make $1 million over a lifetime. You could make $1 million over 3-4 years, or you could make $1 million in 1 month. So first of all, what we could do is to break this down. We could go, okay, what is the glass ceiling with money that I've set myself for in this lifetime? Now, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate whatever that number is that came up? Destroy and create it. You can run the access consciousness clearing. So anywhere I've decided $10 million is this sum total of money I can create or receive in this lifetime, I now destroy and uncreate it all. And you can run the clearing statement, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all night shirts, boys, poets, and beyonds. And that's like it's a personal development tool. It's a clearing statement to clear out places where you have limited yourself and you've come to a conclusion and you can't go beyond that conclusion. So now, what amount of money are you allowed to earn in a year? In 1 year, what is the total sum of money you are allowed to earn? Whatever number came up, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that? Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and meons. Now, what is the amount of money you are allowed to earn in 1 month? What is the glass ceiling of money you are not allowed to go beyond in 1 month? Well, whatever number came up for that, can we destroy and uncreate it, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and meons. Now I want to take a step further, because like while I'm asking you all these questions, and we're all tapping into our own kind of limits that we've put in our realities, there's creating money. So there's like the amount of money you have coming in, say your salary or your wages, or your salary, your wages, sorry, someone's messaging me at the same time and distracting me. So your salary, your wages, or you could also like whatever money you receive within a lifetime or a year. Now, I would also like to have a look at how much of that is profit, because you could make $1 million in a year, but if your expenses are $1 million, you're not really creating wealth. So do you have a glass ceiling on how much profit you are allowed to make? So let's ask that. So how many of you have a glass ceiling on the profit you're allowed to make in this lifetime? What is the amount of money? What is the amount of profit you are allowed to earn in this lifetime? Whatever number came up for you, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Okay, now for the profit, how many of you have a glass ceiling on the amount of profit you can receive or have or earn in a year, in 1 year? So what is the glass ceiling of profit you have in 1 year? Well, whatever number came up, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and meons. Okay, now let's break it down one more. What amount of profit are you allowed to earn in 1 month? Wow. I'm getting like my own awareness of my glass ceilings here, and I'm like, that is so small. So whatever number came up, will you be willing to destroy and uncreate all that now, please? Wow. Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. So what would happen if you didn't have any glass ceilings on what you could earn in this lifetime, what you could earn in a year, and what you could earn in a month? And what would happen if you had no glass ceilings on how much profit you could have in this lifetime, in a year, and in a month? And everything that doesn't allow you to become aware of what glass ceilings you have put in place with money, and allow you to melt those glass ceilings now and ask for a reality beyond that, can we destroy and uncreate it? Right, wrong, good, bad, papak, only shirts, boys, poveds, and meons. So it's like we've set these glass ceilings for ourselves, not just with money, but with everything, like how big of a life are you allowed to have? And a lot of it is relative to where we live, our culture, our family, or even our sex. Like do the women, if you're a woman, do the women in your family make money? Or has there been a glass ceiling on how much money the women in your family are allowed to make? And it may not be that anyone ever really spoke it out. Like nobody said, okay, the women are only allowed to earn this much money, but it's an energetic judgment that's there. If you're a man, is there a glass ceiling on how much money the men in your family can make? And if you don't acknowledge there's a glass ceiling there, you cannot go beyond the glass ceiling. Have a look at your culture. Is there a glass ceiling for you from the culture you grew up on of how much money you're supposed to make or allowed to make, or what's normal, what's acceptable? For me, I grew up in Ireland. So there's actually, I Googled it. There is no billionaire women in Ireland. There's like about 5 billionaire men living in Ireland who are Irish. So in my culture, like in the culture I grew up in, it's not my culture, the culture I grew up in, that I'm now divorcing myself from, as in divorcing myself from the limitations of that culture, is that the men, sorry, not men, but the overall, there's a certain cap on how much money you make in growing up in that culture. Hence, there is no billionaire women and just a few billionaire men. So my ask is, anywhere that I have put a glass ceiling on me and what I can earn and what I can receive and create based on my culture, where I grew up, what was acceptable and what was allowed, and what anyone else could have, I now destroy and create it. And what would it take to be the first billionaire of my kind? How much fun would that be? I'll be the first Irish billionaire. Woman, female. I'll be the first Irish female billionaire. So what glass ceiling do you have that you don't even know you have based on where you grew up, based on your family, on your culture? And would you be willing to like look at it and just be like, okay, do I like, is that what I desire? Do I desire to have a glass ceiling on what I can create? And then I noticed, like, so I lived in Ireland, I grew up there, and I noticed there was like a sum of money I could make there that was okay and normal. And then I moved to America and I noticed like my income changed when I moved here. But like what I could charge for sessions was different, and people were willing to spend more money in different things. And even living in Florida has a different financial like kind of ceiling versus living in the Midwest. You know, you pay a lot more for things here. So there's wherever you go, there's like this cultural imprinting of what people will pay for things, what people earn. And it's like, do you make that your limitation? And what if you could just be aware of it and ask to go beyond it? So have you decided there's a certain amount of money you can have, you can make, you can create based on where you live, based on who lives around you, based on the culture you came from, and based on your family or any other factor you're using based on your sex and on your age? How many of you use your age to limit what you can receive and create financially? Some of us say we're too young to have that much money. When we're older, we'll get more money. And some people are like, well, I'm already old now. So how many of us are using our age to limit what we can create? So if you didn't put a glass ceiling on what you could create based on any factor at all, what could you ask for? And then one last question, and we'll wrap it up. Did you set a target for what you could create financially in this lifetime or any other lifetime? And have you reached it? Wow. So some of you, myself included, had a target to reach a certain amount of money and have reached it and never acknowledged it. And if you don't acknowledge that you reached your target, then what you'll do is you'll start to destroy everything you already have, rather than, okay, you know what? I thought that making $100,000 was going to be the energy of me having money and having all this abundance, and I reached it. Now, have I acknowledged it? Number one. Is it enough? Number two, what would I like to create now? I created this. What else can I create? So I always remember, like, when I started doing my 10%. So a 10% is an honoring account. You learn more about that in Joy of Business classes or a foundation class. But it's an honoring account where you start putting money away for you. It's just for me, just for fun. You don't spend the money. It's an honoring of me. It's letting the universe know I'm willing to have money. And so when you start to have a honoring you, it's a having account. It's the willingness to have money, and you let it build over time. It really gives you a sense of having money. It takes a lot of this lack out of your world. And when I first started doing this, I asked, like, what was the sum of money that I required to have in a 10% account to give me the sense of having money? And when I first asked, I got $10,000. Well, by the time I got to $10,000 was not enough at all. And I remember right before I got to $10,000, I went and borrowed money out of it, my 10%, and used it for something else. That I then wasn't able, like, I basically lost the money in stocks or something. And it showed me how when you set a target and you have an ask and a request to create something, and then you create it, if you don't acknowledge it, you really start to decay at it. And so I had to acknowledge I had a glass ceiling. I hit the glass ceiling, but then I didn't go beyond the glass ceiling because I never acknowledged, okay, I'm here. Now, what would it take to go further beyond this? So have a look at it for you. What is the sum of money that when you get to it, you create it, you then start spending it or getting rid of it or losing it? And that's the piece you want to start going beyond. Because having money is uncomfortable if you're used to not ever having it. If you're used to it always being gone, or you're always trying to work to get it, you have to really train yourself to have money. Because who in your life really ever showed you how to have money? Most people show us how to save it, how to tell us how we should invest it, tell us how we should spend it. Very few people talk about having money. So the willingness to have money, and the willingness to have money, and the willingness to have a sum of money, and that's uncomfortable for you. And then getting past that uncomfortable, and then going, okay, what else? What else? How much more can I receive? How much more can I create? So yeah. So what is that sum of money for you that when you get to it is uncomfortable for you? And would you be willing to take off the glass ceiling that you've put on you, or anybody else has put on you, around what is acceptable for you to have? Okay, guys, some questions for you to play with. Get curious. Start examining, okay, do I have a glass ceiling here? Do I have a glass ceiling in this lifetime? Have I had a target? Have I reached it? Have I acknowledged I reached it? What is it what I would really like to create? And what would be the financial reality for me that is beyond this reality, that is beyond any glass ceiling? So thank you, guys. Thanks for watching. This was a little piece of some tools from the Access Business and Money, which is a one-day class. It's a Joy of Business class. I am going to be offering it as a 2-part online class the last weekend in August the 27th and 28th. So you can find that on my website, www.amyshine.net events, and it's there. And how much fun could we all have blowing the glass ceiling off all our financial realities? And whoever wants to join me in being the first billionaires of their kind, let's do it. How much fun could we have? So thank you all. Bye for now.